time to get your work done. All right, so it is August 7th. Okay. And we're working on algebraic expressions. A lot of good stuff today. So here we have example 1 right here. Again, in your notes, example 1, evaluate the power. You need those directions. That's how I grade your notes. Example 1, evaluate the power. Example 1, evaluate the power. You guys don't have textbooks, so it's really important you take time on your notes because this is, by the end of the year, this is going to be like a textbook for you. All right? I had a good question second hour. They said, do we ever get to use our notes on a test? I might do that once a semester. So if you had another teacher who allowed you to use notes, I won't do that 90% of the time, okay? But that one time I let you, that's going to be a big thing, right? So I will never tell you ahead of time that I'm going to allow you to use your notes on a test. It'll always be a surprise, which means you should always bring them and always have them available to you so that you can use them if that opportunity arises. It'll always be more of a gift, okay? It's not something you can count on. In this class, you have to know how to do this stuff, okay? So here we go, evaluate the power. First, I want to talk about the word evaluate. What is the root of the word evaluate? Value, very good, value. Really important you pay attention to those words. Value is the root of that word, which means you want a value answer, a number answer when you are done. Yes, that stands for number, not hashtag. All right, a number answer. We want a value, a number answer when you're done, okay? Shouldn't be any X's or Y's in it, in other words, okay? Now, evaluate the power. When we talk about powers, we have some vocabulary. I like to make sure you know there is a base and there is an exponent. What is -2? The base. What is 6 called? The exponent. Okay, those are vocabulary words you need to know and understand. So the one thing you want to understand about an exponent is that it affects the thing directly underneath it. So when you look at that 6, what is directly below it? You're like, air. Okay, so not directly below, but just a little off to the left. All right, what's underneath? Parentheses, technically, right? So that right next to that 6 are parentheses, and that's going to tell you that that 6 is affecting everything in those parentheses. That's where parentheses play a big part. So what does an exponent really mean? What is it telling you to do? Times it by itself that number of times. Yeah, it means repeat. Repeat. Repeat the base 6 times. That's what it means. All right? So this is saying we're going to repeat the base 6 times. And in this case, you're going to repeat that -2 6 times. Everything in parentheses gets repeated 6 times. Now, I usually write everything out because this is notes. We really want to make sure we understand what it means. So my first question to you is this result going to be a positive or a negative value? Positive. How do you know it's positive? Even number of negatives. Very good. How many negatives are you seeing up there? 6. It's an even number of negatives. We're going to have a positive result. You need to understand that. If it was an odd number of negatives, what would that be? A negative result. Okay? All right, and then we can multiply. The fast way to multiply this, I think, is, what is 2 times 2 times 2? 8. And another 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Yeah, not 6. That would be 2 plus 2 plus 2. Yeah, and what is 8 times 8? 64. Very good. So positive 64 for the result. A number answer. Evaluate. A value answer. Okay? So, is there a difference between A and B? What's the glaringly obvious difference? No parentheses. Very good. So my question to you is, what does that exponent affect? What'd you say? What does the exponent affect? What is direct? What do you think? Just the number 2, not the negative. The thing directly next to it is the 2. So that 6 is only saying repeat the 2. So the way this works is you can think about this. This is a negative. You can always separate that negative and turn it into a -1 times 2 to the 6. This 6 only affects the 2, the thing that's directly next to it. So that's the thing that we're going to repeat. So this is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Repeating the 2 6 times. Is this going to have a positive or negative result? Negative. Why? There's an odd number of negatives. There's only 1. All right? So this is going to be a negative result. And again, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 8 is 64. So negative 64 for this result. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Those powers with or without parentheses have very different results. So please be careful. All right, example 2, evaluate the expression. Again, writing down example 2, evaluate the expression so that you have that in your notes. That's what I grade in your notes. Example 2, evaluate the expression. You know how to do it. Work ahead of me. Always a good plan. Use your own brain instead of mine. Example 2, evaluate the expression. All right. You'll notice I got some space up there. That's because I'm going to fill that in with something. Some extra information. Again, evaluate, value. We're looking for a value answer when we're done. And my question to you is, what's an expression? Yes.
It's an equation, but not the answer.
So no equal sign, you're thinking.
Yeah,
okay. That's very good. So an expression, the difference between an expression and an equation has an equal sign. And you can see that this has no equal sign. We can simplify an expression, work through a process. We can solve an equation, okay? Solving for a variable. This is not an equation, so I don't like to use the word solve. So it's just little semantics, I guess, but it's important. So when we're working on simplifying an expression, we have to use order of operations. What is order of operations? PEMDAS, very good. PEMDAS. What does the P stand for? Parentheses. Not just parentheses, but any grouping symbol. It could be brackets. You could have brackets within brackets within brackets. What do you do if you have brackets within brackets within brackets?
You do the bracket within the bracket.
Yeah, do inside first. Work your way out. Do inside those, the smallest set of parentheses that you can do. Okay, what does the E stand for? Exponent. E-X-P-O-N-E-N-T-S. Okay, I got it in there. All right, exponents. What about the M and the D? Multiplication and division. Multiply and divide. Now, do you do multiplication first, always, always? No. And this is where order of operations becomes tricky. Multiply and divide are inverse operations. They undo one another. They are actually functionally, mathematically, they're equivalent. They're the same thing. Okay? Now, because of that, we have to do it a specific way. And it's not multiply first always and then divide always. It's whatever comes first in order from left to right. If you have divide on the left, you do divide first. Okay, so you do it in order from left to right. And that's sort of the tricky part about order of operations. What about addition and subtraction? Same thing. You do them in order from left to right. If you have a subtraction on the left, addition on the right, you do the subtraction on the left first because it came first. Okay, in order from left to right. Really, really important. So here we have 5 squared minus 6 times the quantity 2 plus the negative 1 raised to the 4th power. What do you want to do first? Parentheses. Sure, we have a set of parentheses and we have an operation in between. So we want to clean up that set there. I don't like seeing double signs. We're at a level where we should never see double signs, so I hate this, plus a negative. What does that mean? It just means subtract, yeah. And the way you can think about that is if you have 2 plus a negative 1, these are right next to each other. That means multiply them together. What is a positive times a negative? Negative. It's just 2 minus 1. All right? We should never see double signs, okay? 2 minus 1 is 1. We still have that power of 4, a 6, a negative, and a 5 squared. Now, if you can, I'm showing all my steps, but perhaps you can do this faster. That's fine, okay? What do you do next? Exponents. Very good. We have some exponents. So here's an exponent I'm going to worry about. What is this 4 affecting? Just the 1, the parentheses right below it. So we're going to take care of those. 5 squared is 25. We have a minus 6. And then we have 1 to the 4th. What is 1 to the 4th power? 1. Yeah. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Very good. And then what do you want to do? Yeah, technically multiply, but really 6 times 1 is just 6. So 25 minus 6. So we did that, but, you know. 25 minus 6 is 19. So there we go. What a great answer. Again, you can probably do that more quickly, but definitely show me at least one step in between, okay? All right, down on the bottom, 3 minus 8 squared divided by 4 plus 1. What do you want to do first? Exponent. We don't have any parentheses, so we're going to do this exponent. And again, the 2 only affects the 8. So that means 8 times 8, which is 64. I'm going to just bring along everything for the ride. All right, now what's next? Division. We have a division problem. So right around that division sign, I want to do that division. 64 divided by 4 is what? 16. Very good. And again, everything else is coming along for the ride. I had a 3. I've got that green negative or subtraction, same thing. All right, now I have a subtraction and I have an addition problem. Which one comes first? Yeah, subtraction, because it came first on going left to right. So we do that. What is 3 subtract 16? Negative 13. Very good. Lots of negatives there. Plus 1? Negative 12. Very good. Adding and subtracting numbers, positives and negatives, can be a skill that students get stuck on. Okay, it is, if it's not taught well, and whenever you learn that, then it can mess you up forever. All right, I can fix it in 5 minutes, folks. Please, if you have trouble with that, if it takes you forever, come see me. Literally 5 minutes, your problem will be solved. Okay, so come see me, please, please, please. All right, example 3, last ones here. Evaluate the expression for the given values. Again, you need the directions. That example 3 in the directions. Evaluate the expression. If you just want to abbreviate, evaluate the expression, that's fine. Evaluate the expression. You can shorten up those directions, but they should be there. Evaluate the expression for the given values. You guys, your notes are looking absolutely wonderful. I'm seeing people bringing out their colors. It's really good stuff. I see people working ahead. Awesome. Super. You know how to do it. Don't wait for me. Okay, so again, an expression is something that doesn't have an equal sign in it, but it has operations, addition and subtraction, multiply and divide, just no equal sign. So here is our expression. And what do they want us to do here? Find x?
No, get the answer.
Plug in x. Yeah, they're telling you that x equals -3. X is the same as a -3. So wherever we have an x, I am going to replace it. I am going to substitute it with a -3. Now, whenever you have an x, and if there's a number in front, a coefficient in front, or if there's like a negative in front, then I highly recommend that you use parentheses whenever you're substituting. If you use parentheses, you'll always do it right. So -4, in place of that x, I'm going to plug in that -3. Don't forget your power of 2. Really important that you use those parentheses there, especially since there's a negative in front of that number. It really makes a big difference in your answer. 6. In place of the x, we've got a -3. And then don't forget that ending piece, that -5. All right, now again, we have to use order of operations. So what are we going to do first? Parentheses. So when we say parentheses, yes, focus in on those parentheses. Is there an operation inside those parentheses we need to worry about? There's not really an operation inside. But we do have what comes next? Exponent. So we have this exponent of 2. And what's that 2 affecting? The -3, that whole -3, which means -3 times -3. And what's that going to give you? +9. So be very careful. Those are, I'm going to trick you on that. That's my entire job. Okay, so we've dealt with that exponent. Now what comes next? Multiplication. Yeah, we have a couple of multiplication when they're right next to each other. This is -4 times 9, which gives you -36. And here we have a 6 times -3. A +6 times a -3 is going to give me -18. Good. And then we have another whole lot of negatives here. -36, a -18, and a -5 is math that's too big for my brain. So I'm going to go ahead. What is it? -36?
18.
No, -59.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Lots of negatives there. Yeah, a whole lot. Oh, funny. All right. So again, positive and negative numbers can really mess you up. All right. If you need help, see me. We have only negative numbers here, which means they just join forces and become a greater amount of negative numbers. Okay. So lots more negatives. Here again, we have an expression. And we're just substituting in our values for x and y. When you have a fraction like this, take up the space, ladies and gentlemen. Don't try to smush it into one little line. Use 2 lines at least. Give yourself 2 full lines on your paper. All right, I'm going to plug in place of this x. Now this x doesn't have a coefficient. Well, it does. What is the coefficient in front of that x? A 1. Very good. So there is a 1 there. But if it was something other than 1, like a 2 or a 5 or a -3, I definitely want to use parentheses. But since I don't really have an important coefficient, I'm just going to use the 5. Plus a 2. Now this y has a number in front. It's got a 2 in front. So on that one, I definitely want to make sure I use those parentheses. So in place of y, I'm plugging in a -4. And don't forget quantity squared. In the denominator, I have 3 quantity, and then x minus y. So this is just a plain old x here, so I'm just going to put in my 5. This is a negative. That's really important. Because of that negative, negatives just screw everything up. I want to make sure that I use parentheses. -4. So minus a -4. All right, I want to clean up the numerator. What do you want to do first in the numerator? What should we do first in the numerator? Well, but we have the parentheses. We have the parentheses, and we have operations within. We have addition, and we have a multiplication. What should we do first? Multiplication, yeah, right here. So this is a positive 2 times -4. What's that give you? -8. Very good. Positive 2 times -4 gives me that -8. In my denominator, 3 inside my parentheses, I have 5 minus a -4. What is negative times negative? Positive. So that's really 5 plus 4. All right, I'm going to subtract. What is 5 minus 8? -3. Still in parentheses, still being squared. My denominator, I'm going to do 5 plus 4 and get 9. What is -3 quantity squared? Positive 9. What does -3 quantity squared mean? -3 times -3, which gives you positive 9. 3 times 9 is 27. Now, this is a fraction. I love fractions. Fractions are fantastic. And is this an okay fraction to leave as your answer? No, what should you do? Simplify, reduce, reduce, always. So what can you divide top and bottom by? 3 is a factor, but what is the greatest common factor? 9. So you can actually divide top and bottom by 9. Greatest common factor. The greatest factor that they have in common. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 27 divided by 9 is 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, do you have questions for me? All right. Then you can get started